Yo, y'all dudes can do all that fishing shit all you want. I'ma just go down to Cabanese, get a 2-piece with some fries and corn on the side, little beverage for the drink, and then I'm good. What's going on, everybody? It's the Granddad Woolly, and you are here again for another edition of Woolly Reviews Hip Hop Data. We got an album review today when we're talking about the brand new album that just fucking dropped from two legends out of the Twin Cities. These motherfuckers are back. They dropped some new shit. They up here fishing and shit, trying to catch all kinds of catfish and perch and all bluegill. I don't know nothing about fish, but I mean, I know it's some fish to eat. That's what I'm about. Cook it on the grill, nigga. I'm right there, nigga. Talking about the new album from Atmosphere entitled Fishin' Blues. Now, Fishin' Blues is the newest album from Rhyme Sayers' flagship artists and Twin Cities legends Slug and Ant, better known as Atmosphere. They've been in the game for over 20 years and they got a lot of fucking dope albums under their belt. They got, of course, God Loves Ugly, Overcast, Savage Travels, When Life Gives You Lemons, You Paint That Shit Gold. Southsiders, their most recent one before this. They've dropped a lot of crazy dope shit over their years and their careers, and they are pretty much responsible for Minnesota having their own hip-hop scene. If it wasn't for Atmosphere, Minnesota, Minneapolis, they would not have that fucking little hub or space, because pretty much Atmosphere put it to the national forefront and the worldwide forefront. So now they're back with their brand new album, Fishin' Blues, so we're gonna talk about this shit and see if Atmosphere gave us something that's a good catch, or for some shit that we should throw back in the goddamn water. Let's talk about the shit. Alright, y'all, so before I get too deep into this shit, I'm just let you know, I go into Atmosphere albums with a completely open mind. I don't listen to it and expect it to sound a certain way, or I was like, yo, why don't Slug sound like he did on this album? Or why don't Ant make beats like he did on this album? I'm not like that, because I know when it comes to Atmosphere, they always like to just try new things, push the envelope, go different directions, and then on top of that, they are just two dudes who've been doing this for so long. They grow, they mature, and then they just have a different, you know, sort of vibe and feel when it comes to the music. So you gotta realize that shit and don't complain when they do different shit, goddammit. So when it comes to Fishin' Blues, they are again trying to do something different because time has passed and things have changed with them. And when it comes to this album, you get all kinds of different types of tracks. You get the dark, moody tracks, you get the very upbeat tracks, you get the very weird and just kind of eccentric tracks, and then you get those very soulful, laid-back, smooth joints. Like, you get a little bit of everything, but they all exude some sort of just really raw emotion and feel. That's what Ant's beats really possess. He has a lot of live instrumentation with his shit, which is really dope, and it just sounds really, really quality and top-notch, but at the same time, it just sounds like Ant. Like, Ant is like a producer who has a certain style, but at the same time, you really can't, like, pinpointed as one certain thing, because he's always developing and growing on that style, which is really fucking dope. But then at the same time, there are other Ant beats and tracks that I've heard on previous Atmosphere albums or other albums he's worked on that I find are better than some of the beats on here. So I guess it's like I'm saying, these beats here are really, really good, but it's not like the best Ant beats I've ever heard in my goddamn life. But at the same time, they're nowhere near the worst and shit. So I say Ant did a really good job, and now we gotta see what fucking Slug decided to do with these shits. So now let's see if Slug brought the fire on these beats that Ant presented. Let's talk about it. Now, when it comes to Slug, I've always thought he was a dope MC. He's got the lyrical ability, he knows how to tell a good story, he knows how to put together a song and an album very well, and he just really knows how to be transparent and really doesn't really carry himself too seriously, and he can really just be real honest and with himself as well as what his music is. So I really enjoy his music, and I like the fact that over time, as he grows as an individual and as a fucking person, he pretty much translates that through his music, and you kind of just see the different stages and what he goes through in life with being pretty much a star in his own town and city, but at the same time balancing being, you know, a husband and a father, and then just trying to, you know, be himself and not really let the ego and the success get to him. And he just pretty much goes through all that. And that's pretty much what the core of Fishin' Blues is. It's pretty much just Slug just pretty much saying he's casting out these things in life that he wants to get something in return, whether it's just on a musical side, on a financial side, on a family side, or a friendship side. It's pretty much a life thing. Like, he's pretty much casting out his line, and he's trying to get something in return, and that's pretty much what the theme of this album is. And it's really dope because he uses that metaphor for himself in this entire album to pretty much pertain to things like him dealing with his position in the music game, or his position in life with his family, or his just friends, or just pretty much how he sees life and how he wants to conduct himself, and the things that he knows and things that he still wants to learn and feels like he should still be learning in life as he progresses. So he hits on all those various subjects, and he does it in a very, very clear, concise, and very transparent way, where you really just get to see who Slug is at this point in his life. But the thing about this album that I realized is that he's very, very really laid back on this album compared to other albums, and the way that he sounds. He really just doesn't have that that punch that he usually does, that bite that he usually does when it comes to his flow. He still has the lyrics there. He still brings some clever lines and some good metaphors, especially a lot of good fishing references, with the title being Fishing Blues. But at the same time, you feel like Slug's sort of like in this really just lax version of life right now, and it really represents that with the sound of his fucking vocals and his tone. It's just, he's really just like chilled and laid back. It's like he's really fucking fishing. He's just sitting in a boat fishing. He's just like telling these stories while he's relaxing. And the thing about that is I get it with the tone, but it just doesn't translate and really make it a very impactful sounding album. It's like if Southsiders was just this really just hardcore, hard-hitting album that talks about Minneapolis, and then after that they decide to go fucking fishing and just chill, and then just tell some real just like personal stories about themselves and just kind of reflect on life. That's sort of like what Fishing Blues is. And it is good for what it is, but like I said, it's missing a sort of punch or just a certain edge to it that Slug usually has and doesn't have on this album. It's just really a low-key album. And that makes it for a very good sounding album, but not a amazing or a very great album that hits you like emotionally or just leaves an impression on you. It's good. It's like really a really good fucking album, but I really just expected to get more out of it than what I got from it. Something else about this album that's worth noting is that it has a lot more features than usually has been on most Atmosphere albums recently. I mean, it's a lot of motherfuckers on here. It's not a lot, but for Atmosphere album, it's a fucking lot. But they got Dim Atlas, IBE, Kim Manning, Doom, Kool Keith, The Grouch, and Aesop Rock. So yeah, I mean, most of them is includes and family, whatnot, but like the fact that the Atmosphere reached out and had other people chime in on this album, which usually doesn't happen much, especially when it comes to an Atmosphere project. They usually try to keep it within themselves. It's really cool to hear these other artists come in and chime in, and they actually bring something to these albums. Every person who on here who comes in really does bring something to the album, and I really like the fact that they went out and got these other artists to come in and help with this album. It's really dope. Now, I know I gotta give you my top 5 tracks, and this was a little bit difficult because I had to listen to this album a few times to really pick out the tracks that I really liked. The album had to grow on me a little bit after first listen. I only pretty much like immediately liked like probably 2 or 3 tracks. The rest of them I thought were cool. But as I got the album and I really soaked it in, I really was able to flesh out 5 really great tracks that I liked. And the rest of the songs I really liked a lot too, but these are the ones that really stuck out to me. So hold on, I got them. I thought I was ready, but you know me, fuck you, I don't care. Here we go. Perfect. Seismic Waves, When the Lights Go Out, No Biggie, and Won't Look Back. Okay, so let's go back to the top. Okay, so Perfect, I like this song right here. It's really pretty much just Slug saying, hey, I'm not fucking perfect, yo. Like, I'm a regular dude just like everybody else. I make mistakes, even though I'm half Atmosphere and I have the success and, you know, I'm so loved by so many people. And, you know, at the same time, though, it's like, you know, I make mistakes too, and I'm just letting you know I'm not fucking perfect. I try my best to be, goddammit, but shit don't work out that way. And it's a dope song. I like the beat on here, and brings a really dope beat on here. It's got a nice little vocal opera sounding sample, but it still sounds very upbeat and lively at the same time. It's got some nice little quirky sounds to it too. And I like the hook on here where Slug says, fall from the sky just to learn how to fly. Don't even gotta put me in the dirt when I die. I'm not perfect, I try. And it's just another case of him being very transparent on the record and him not having an ego and just pretty much showing he's just like a regular real dude, which is a really cool song, really stand out for me. And I really enjoyed it, so you should definitely check that one out, unless you think you fucking perfect and you don't need to. Fuck you, nigga. You ain't perfect and neither am I. I never said I was, and neither did Slug. The next song is Seismic Waves. Now, I really like this track. I like the beat on here because it's just this really weird, like, eclectic type beat. It's got this really like synth sounding, like, I don't even know how to explain the shit, but it's got this really, like, it's got a wah sound. You know what I say, a wah sound? It's got a wah sound. It's got like a do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And then it's got this really just like thick, heavy bass, and it's it's a very tense sounding beat, and it really just sounds really good. And then Slug comes on here, and he just delivers some very solid verses. And for me, what I got from this song, he's just pretty much making a lot of different observations just about life and about just certain situations that goes on around him. I really couldn't pinpoint the exact meaning of this song, but I think it's just a really dope sounding song. But at the same time, I think really he has a lot of cool lines on here. He says, things ain't been the same since Trayvon, shit, things ain't been the same since Reagan. So, I mean, like, if you really know the history of all those things, you would kind of get the point of what he's trying to say. But I think it's a really dope track as well. The beat on here, I think, is one of my favorite beats on this album because of how just off kilter but different but unique it is. But at the same time, it sounds like a bare bones type of hip hop beat that really just opens up for you to be able to do any type of thing on there, and for Slug to come in and just really just sort of take it and make it his own the way he did. I really like this track. It's a definite standout. Check that shit out too. The next song is When the Lights Go Out, and this one features Doom and Kool Keith, and this is that dark, just gritty, menacing track of the album. It sounds like something that you would hear Doom and Kool Keith on, and the only thing about this track that I do have to say something about is I wish Kool Keith had a verse. He did not. He just talked on here, and he did a little bit of something on like the hook, but I found out the history of the song and realized that it wasn't even meant for Doom and Kool Keith to really be on this song. It was just supposed to be a one-verse Slug track, and then it just ended up building into something else. So I would say, okay, I'll let this shit pass this time, but next time you better get Kool Keith on the goddamn verse. You could have went back and told him to do a verse. Y'all had time. Don't act like y'all didn't, goddamn it. But Doom and Slug both come in with some very menacing and dark verses that really just like cater to this beat very well. They have great chemistry. I like when they get on the songs together. It's very few and far between, but when they do it, it really just comes out really good. And this is a very standout track, not only because of the sound, but because of course you got Doom on here, you got Slug on here, and you got Kool Keith on here. Now you don't get that shit every day. You better appreciate that shit when you get it, because you ain't gonna see a Doom, Slug, Kool Keith record for the next probably 15 years, maybe, if anything, probably. Probably not that long, I hope, but it's gonna be a good while. So definitely check that shit out. It's a dope record. Very nice. The next song is No Biggie, and I really like this song. This is a straight one-verse track from Slug, no hook, no nothing like that. Very high energy beat, really cool guitar on here, hard hitting. It just sounds like one of them hip hop, just like, yo, talk your shit type tracks. But what Slug does on here, which I really like, is he pretty much says, yo, like, hey, I've gotten to a point in my career where it's like, I'm not gonna be no biggie. I'm not gonna be a legend. I'm not gonna be somebody who, when I die, everybody's gonna remember me for. I'm just gonna be some regular dude who made his music and got his fan base. I got 20 years in. You've seen my ups. You've seen my downs. You've seen me be transparent. You've seen me tell you everything about me. There's pretty much a mystery. So it's pretty much like I've pretty much gotten to a point in my career where I can continue to make music and be successful. But after it's all said and done, I'm not gonna go down in the history books as great as some other people, because my career wasn't cut short, because I was able to do everything that I needed to do. And I can appreciate that shit from Slug, because it's pretty much most artists don't get that many years in the game to be able to do that. Some people are either here today, gone tomorrow because they fucking whack, or they fucking die, or some shit happens, and he was fortunate enough to not be fucking whack and not fucking die and really have a full-fledged career and still be able to have a career to this day to really just keep putting out music and keep solidifying his existence in this game. But by that, he's not gonna be able to hit that certain level as other artists who were cut short in their prime. So I like this song. Very dope. It hits me from an artist perspective as well as just somebody who listens to music perspective. I get it on both sides. So I really like this track. Definitely stand out. Definitely check that shit out. And it's a hot one. And the last song on here is Won't Look Back, and it features Kim Manning, and this is probably my favorite song on the album overall as far as just from the song standpoint. And I like the beat on here. It's very just like, it's very low key, but it's got this like nighttime feel to it, but it's got like a head nodding feel to it. It's really weird. It's got some nice little guitar on here. I really like the guitar on here. I like the singing on here from Kim Manning on the hook. It's a very dope hook on here, and I like her voice on here. It just fits perfectly like a glove. And Slug on here is pretty much talking about relationship-wise, when you're with somebody that you're in love with, and like, you know, things don't go out the way that they're supposed to, but then you don't look back when you try to leave, but at the same time you end up back in that cycle. So it's sort of like a repeating thing, because they just still have that same hold on to you. So it's pretty much hitting on the whole relationship topic and probably sourcing something personally from him, but the song itself is really good. It has a nice vibe to it, and I really like it. And it's just one of them songs that when you hear it, you immediately like it, just from just the general sound and presentation of it. So it's a definite standout just off that. And it's a hot song too if you really break it down. So good job, Slug, on that one and all those other ones, but that's the top 5. But overall, I think this album is very solid. It's got some really great moments on here, but overall, I don't think that it just leaves a lasting impression like other Atmosphere albums do. But as you listen to it and you get more time with it, it does grow on you. You do kind of see where Slug and Ant are coming from in their perspective when it comes to this album. And no, it may not be as great as a God Loves Ugly, or, you know, You Can't Imagine How Much Fun We're Having, or Lemons, or even Southsiders, but in its own right and own perspective, it does have some moments that really just makes it its own album and its own unique thing. And the whole theme itself with the fishing blues thing, and you go out there and you cast your shit out in life's lake and you hope some shit catches. And sometimes you catch some shit like Atmosphere. They caught some good shit because they got a career and everything like that. Me, I'm still fishing, nigga. I got good bait. and I threw it in the water. Nobody's biting. Y'all don't want to bite. I mean, my shit's good. Like literally, I've been improving the bait for years, and still nobody bites. I don't know. Maybe fish don't like me. Maybe that's what it is. God damn it. So my final verdict. I'm not saying that Atmosphere Fishing Blues is a very solid album that has a lot of great moments, but lacks the punch and kick of previous Atmosphere albums. All I'm saying is that the production on here is very nice. Ant comes through with some really great beats on here. The best I've ever heard of him, no, but they're really, really good, and he's got some really great moments on here, like with the beats for When the Lights Go Out and Won't Look Back and fucking No Biggie and a whole bunch of other tracks on here too. And Slug himself brings some really nice rhymes on here. Lyrically, he's still got it. He's got some great metaphors, great fishing references that he uses up in here. He also really is very transparent. They let go of the ego. He pretty much tells you a lot of shit about himself personally. Probably sometimes a little too personal, like the song Next to You, when like he tells about the time he gets drunk and then he wants to go home and smash the wifey, but she sleeps, so then he got to rub one out, but then he's too drunk to do it and he gets caught. He passes out with his dick in his hand. He's graphic. Slug, you ain't need to tell us that. That song, you ain't need to know that. But I just think it lacks the punch and kick and memorability of other Atmosphere albums. And when I listened to it, I was like, yeah, there's some really good songs on here, and I can listen to it front to back, but it just doesn't leave a lasting impression on me that I really wish it would have. And that's what kind of knocks it down for me. But other than that, it's a very good album. So all I gotta say is that for me, Atmosphere Fishing Blues is not Granddad approved, but I will give it a very highly Granddad recommended. So go check it out. It's out right now. Support the homies. Well, they ain't the homies, but I wish there was the homies. But support Atmosphere and Rhymesayers. They're always putting out great, solid, quality work. And Atmosphere, they gonna be doing this for a lot more time. There ain't no reason for them to stop. They gonna keep churning out albums. And this is just another solid one for the catalog. So definitely check it out. Go cop it. And do what you gotta do. And if you wanna go fishing after this, go fishing and listen to this shit. I'm not going fishing. I'm going to Captain D's. I got coupons over there. I'm gonna go use that shit and give me something to eat after this, because we talking all this fish shit and I need me 2-piece right now, goddammit. But I got nothing more to say. Atmosphere Fishing Blues is very highly Granddad recommended. So go check out the shit right now. Flip it. Alright y'all, that's going to do it for today's video. Make sure you give me a thumbs up and drop a comment. Tell me what you think of Atmosphere Fishing Blues if you've heard it. If you haven't heard it, like I said, it's a very good album. It just lacks the kick and memorability of other Atmosphere albums, and that's the thing that draws it back for me. But it does have some really good production, some very solid songs on here. And overall, I did enjoy the album, just not as much as I hoped I would, because I needed to be left with something, and I was left with nothing in the heart. And that's the thing. But it's still a dope album. Definitely check out the shit. Previous video was on the side as well as my latest single. Check that out. Show them some love. And as always, Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud, Instagram. Links in the description below. And subscribe. Button on the screen. Button below. Woolly Reviews twice a week, as well as CDK studies. Check that shit out. And the gaming channel. And if you are indie artist or indie anything, you want your shit spotlighted, hit up the info below. And I got nothing more to say. So until next time I take my leave, Granddad, Atmosphere Fishing Blues. It's a good fucking album, y'all, and like, if y'all going fishing again, I won't go, but like, if you catch something and you're gonna cook it up, holler at me, I will be there, and I will bring the cocktail sauce, and the fries, and the corn, and I'll bring all the rest of the shit. Y'all just bring the fish. I'm out of here.